Alright YouTube, we're back talking some FF7, we're talking some Remake. We got a couple of bits of info the last day or so, coming out of, I think, Gamescom, with a Remake for Xbox and also Switch 2. We did also get a new trailer, if you want to call it that, for Remake on Xbox that has Hamaguchi in it. There's not really a lot of talking points, but there was one thing people were latching onto from this trailer, and it's Hamaguchi alluding to more information for the Remake series. And in that regard, it could be either like Rebirth coming to Xbox eventually, or also Switch 2, or also potentially Part 3 stuff. The other kind of talking point from this video trailer, whatever you want to call it, is still no release date yet for Xbox and Switch 2. They're still just giving the winter time frame, which is a little bit strange. The other kind of news we have is like performance of Remake on the Switch 2 and also the Xbox Ally / Xbox Ally X, I believe there's two different ones or something. And it seems like the game is performing well, which is good to hear coming off of the Elden Ring news that game's apparently performing pretty damn badly in the Switch too. Obviously, these games are quite different in terms of design and scope, right? But you do have this one, very popular game that is doing pretty badly, it seems, on the Switch too, but Remake seems to be doing quite well. I will say, a lot of the gameplay that I've seen for Remake on both the Xbox Ally but also Switch 2 is like early gameplay. So you're talking like the bombing mission stuff. And I bring that up just because like the first chapter of Remake is obviously quite linear, right? It's just you and a couple other people and then fighting enemies. Now, once you get to like maybe chapter 2, where it's a little bit busy when you're walking the streets of Midgard, we can see how it performs. And then also like chapter 3, once you get to like chapter 7 slums, right? But specifically with stuff like maybe Wall Market later on, right? Whatever chapter that is, I don't remember off the top of my head. But like when you get to the more busy sections of Remake, I wonder how these like handheld consoles are going to handle it. At least as of right now, it seems like the game is doing well on both of these different platforms, right? And I imagine with like a docked Switch 2 and like the regular Xbox consoles, Series X and S or whatever, they probably do very well, right? I imagine it's at least comparable to like PS5 or whatever. There's all kinds of gameplay footage out there for either platform if you want to watch it. I just pulled up the Xbox Ally gameplay from Deck Wizard to kind of look at it, and it looks pretty damn good. They did also add this in the replies, but also the description of the video. Graphic settings are unknown, potentially high 1080p. The game looked and felt amazing while playing. I was not allowed to change the settings to anything else while filming. Sound muted due to the amount of noise at the event. Them having the sound muted, it's hard to know how the game sounds, right? Whether or not there's some broken audio in parts if the game gets too busy or some shit. But at least as of right now, without knowing what the audio is and what the settings are, it seems like the game is performing well. What I'm unsure of is if there's actually gameplay out there right now on just straight up Xbox, because obviously the Rogue Ally stuff is just PC. It's just essentially the PC version of the game, right? I would like to see how the game performs on Xbox and also like a docked Switch 2 or something, right? Like how are the visuals, how's the gameplay, that type of shit. The game is doing well on these handheld consoles, so it should be fine, I would imagine, on regular consoles, but I can't seem to find gameplay of that, and I kind of wonder how it would perform like specifically on like the Series S, which is obviously the lesser of the newer Xbox consoles. Like how does it perform on that? As for that newer trailer we got or whatever, again, there's not really anything to talk about. I mean, it's Remake. Remake is how many years old at this point? You've seen it a million times, right? You will notice there's no subtitles. I downloaded the video from Twitter initially, and for some reason it just doesn't want to work. I don't know why. So this is downloaded from YouTube, but the YouTube doesn't have the subtitles embedded into it, I guess, or whatever. I don't know why. I'm not really sure what the problem is because I've downloaded shit off of Twitter for literally years now for YouTube shit, right? And for some reason it didn't want to work. I don't know what the problem is. Can't figure it out. Can't be bothered. So what we have is screenshots. Exciting. So here's a screenshot of Hamaguchi mentioning the winter release window again. I'm a little bit confused why we don't have a more concrete release window at this point, right? Because we got the reveal for Remake on Switch 2 back in like, I think February, right? Like the end of February. I think there was like a Switch event or whatever. We've known about that shit for like 6 months now, and then it was announced for Xbox, I think like over 2 months ago. I think pushing close to 3 months ago. It's like early June, I believe. It's just a little strange to me that they don't have a more concrete idea of like when the game's going to come out on these other platforms, right? Like obviously they're going for the winter time frame, but I don't know if it's going to be in December or January potentially at this point. We're not that far away from those months. And here's the quote that people were kind of latching onto, where Hamaguchi says, "And await new information on the Final Fantasy VII Remake series." Again, it's a very vague statement. It could be one of a few things. It could be all of them at once, right? He could be talking about Rebirth eventually coming to Xbox. We know that's happening, obviously, at this point, because we have Intergrade on Xbox. But even before we ever got, the reveal of, Xbox finally getting the Remake series, it was going to happen eventually. So obviously, Rebirth is inevitably coming to Xbox at some point. We don't know exactly when yet. He could also be alluding to Remake Part 3 stuff. That's something we've been waiting on. We're desperate for at this point. We're creeping into the month of September, around the time when we're supposed to maybe be getting something for Part 3. I will say he makes a very general statement, right? He doesn't say, like, wait more new information on the Remake series for Xbox or something like that. He just says information for the Remake series. So I would assume it's alluding to Part 3 stuff. But he doesn't even give, like, a time frame. He doesn't even say, like, new information soon. in the near future, some point this year or something like that, right? It just says new information. So it's quite vague, which is a little underwhelming, a little bit sort of kind of worrying. I am still clearly of the mindset that we're getting something this year, even if it's all the way until December with the Game Awards, right? I still think we're going to get something this year, but it would have been nice to just, remake series news soon-ish. Something like that, right? I don't know. Just alluding to like an idea of the fucking time frame of when we might be able to get something. I don't know. So we need like Toriyama. We need Toriyama, the one that gave us something last year. They need to interview him more often. Anyways, but that's really kind of it for the video. Just kind of a coverage of some stuff we got over the last couple of days in regards to remake on like Xbox and Switch 2, but also want to cover that quote from, Hamaguchi that people were, again, kind of latching onto. I don't think it's very vague. It doesn't really give us something. I do think it's probably alluding to Part 3 stuff, but it doesn't really tell us anything that we weren't already kind of expecting. Obviously, Gamescom came and went. Nothing happened. We got PAX West here relatively soon. Whether or not we get something there, that remains to be seen. If we don't get something at PAX West, I don't know if we're looking to, TGS at the end of September for something, or if they're going to do something themselves with like the anniversary for Ever Crisis, like their own kind of like FF7 sort of, live stream or some shit. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do exactly. I'm kind of at a loss at this point, but hopefully we get something soon. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social works in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.